It started with the galaxy's smartest minds screaming into their comms like caffeinated parrots. The Velthari, proud rulers of 6-star clusters, were in full meltdown mode. The Void Rot had eaten through another military station, this time in less than 8 seconds. 8 seconds. Commander Zorvek slammed his tendrils on the table. We've tried everything. Carbon weave hulls, neutron forge plates, exotic quantum meshes. Gone, gone, gone. The Yntari representative, who resembled an anxious jellyfish in a suit, wobbled in despair. We even coated an entire battleship in antimatter-proof alloy. The rot devoured it like a hungry toddler at a dessert buffet. 7 million compounds tested, not one success. It wasn't just eating ships, it was eating reputations. The scientists looked ready to throw themselves into the nearest black hole just to escape another failure report. And then, like the punchline to a bad joke, a minor delegate from the fringe worlds cleared his throat. There's another option, he said. All heads swiveled toward him. We could ask the humans. The room erupted in laughter, so hard someone had to be resuscitated. Humans? The deathworld primates who still burned compressed plant matter for propulsion? The ones whose greatest cultural export was hot bean water and conspiracy theories? No, Zorvek choked between laughs. We need solutions, not barbecue enthusiasts. But the delegate persisted. They survive on a world with constant natural disasters, predatory megafauna, and weather patterns that look like war crimes. They might have unconventional materials. So, begrudgingly, the Galactic Council sent an envoy to Earth. The envoy's arrival was as dignified as an interstellar visit could be, until they landed next to a human garage sale. Out stepped Dave Miller, 42 years old, wearing cargo shorts and a shirt that said "I void warranties." He squinted at the towering alien figure. You the guy buying the fishing rods? Hold this for me. Before the envoy could respond, Dave slapped something into their hands. The object was light, cylindrical, and wrapped in metallic silver. The translator struggled for a moment before spitting out, "Air to death ribbon." The envoy turned it over, puzzled, when their foot caught on a cracked metal beam near the driveway. The object rolled from their hand, bouncing once before coming to rest across the crack. What happened next made the envoy scream so loud that 3 neighborhoods called animal control. The beam didn't crumble. The creeping black tendrils of void rot, which had been silently consuming Earth's derelict space debris in orbit for weeks, froze. The rot pulsed once, as if confused, then backed away. Within hours, the envoy had relayed the footage to the council. The scientists were in uproar. "Impossible!" shrieked Dr. Glivik, whose head resembled a trembling cactus. "No adhesive can resist that entropy cascade. It violates 3 laws of molecular decay." Yet the evidence was undeniable. The shiny strip of air tube death ribbon was immune to the void rot. Dave, meanwhile, was unimpressed. It's duct tape. Fixes anything. I once used it to patch my cousin's canoe and his marriage. Both lasted about 2 weeks. The council demanded samples. Within a day, a crate arrived, 20 rolls of duct tape, purchased for $39.80 from a hardware store that smelled faintly of despair and fertilizer. The aliens were baffled. "You sell your planet's most advanced defense technology for pocket change?" one asked. Dave shrugged. "Yeah, we got it in black too, if you're fancy." In the Galactic High Lab, the duct tape was subjected to every durability test known to intelligent life. Plasma jets? The tape didn't burn, it laughed. Matter displacement? It stayed exactly where it was. Immersion in concentrated dark energy? It came out shinier. "This is not possible," whispered Dr. Glivik, running a trembling tentacle over the smooth surface. "It's stickier than before." Word spread fast. By the 3rd day, duct tape had been nicknamed the Silver God's Binding by a Krog admiral who claimed it healed his ship's life support before it failed. The Velthari media ran headlines like, "Primitive species hides reality-bending weapon in plain sight." Political chaos followed. Some leaders accused humans of strategic deception. "They lure us into complacency by making it absurdly accessible," declared one Yntari senator, clutching a roll as though it might explode. To prove its true potential, the council ordered a large-scale simulation. Engineers applied duct tape to a cracked starship hull and pushed the vessel toward a controlled singularity. Not only did it hold, but the hull emerged intact, sealed so tightly that the crew was trapped inside for 2 weeks and had to survive on dehydrated pudding. Theories exploded. It's a pre-singularity adaptive nanoweave, claimed one research paper. It's infused with quantum foresight, insisted another. Dave, watching the reports on his couch, shook his head. Nah, it's just tape. You put on stuff, it stays there. But the most startling moment came when the scientists tested it directly against a sample of the void rot. The rot touched the tape, recoiled violently, and then disintegrated entirely, as if it had been shown its own embarrassing baby photos. This wasn't just resistance. This was dominance. Back in the council chamber, panic and all mingled like bad cologne. If humans could create something so devastatingly effective by accident, what else were they hiding? And more importantly, what would happen if they decided to use it on purpose? Dave was still in his driveway, holding a can of beer and duct taping his lawnmower back together. When the envoy returned to question him further, he simply handed them another roll and said, "Careful with that. Last time I left it near my fridge, it fixed the ice maker and welded the door shut. Took me a week to get it open." The envoy shuddered. The galaxy had just met its most terrifying weapon, and it was being sold for less than a cup of hot bean water. In the High Lab, the duct tape had become the most studied object in galactic history. Scientists who once researched black hole dynamics were now arguing over the best way to peel it off a surface without tearing it. The Velthari insisted on using surgical-grade plasma scalpels. The Krog preferred brute force and crowbars. The Yintari tried to unstick it telepathically and ended up mentally gluing themselves to the concept of stickiness for 3 days. No matter what they threw at it, literal or theoretical, it didn't just survive, it adapted. Plasma blasts left it shinier. Exposure to corrosive atmospheres made the adhesive stronger. In one test, they submerged it in a quantum destabilizer, and the tape repaired the destabilizer before anyone noticed it was broken. "It's like it knows," muttered Dr. Glivic, staring at the tape as though it might blink. Of course, the aliens couldn't leave it at knows. They had to name it something dramatic. Soon, entire research branches were devoted to the properties of the Silver God's binding. One Velthari journal even published a paper claiming the tape emitted confidence particles that boosted morale in nearby life forms. The humans laughed. "Confidence particles? It's glue on a roll, mate," said Dave when reporters asked him. "Next you'll say it has a soul." Politics took an ugly turn. The Galactic Council, terrified by the tape's potential, demanded full disclosure of Earth's weapons program. Earth responded with a PowerPoint showing hardware store shelves, accompanied by a cheerful statement, "We make it in Pennsylvania." There's also a fun camo version for hunters. This only deepened alien suspicion. Camo version? So they can hide it from scanners, whispered one paranoid diplomat. Then came the experiments. The Velthari military wrapped a battle drone entirely in duct tape. It became impervious to energy fire, but also to its own control signals, drifting aimlessly until it docked itself to a passing asteroid for a nap. The Krog taped over the seams of a warship to reinforce its armor. The ship survived an artificial supernova test perfectly intact. Unfortunately, no one could get inside because every hatch was sealed shut. Civilian tests fared no better. A Yintari engineer used it to fix a water leak in a habitat dome, only to discover the tape had bonded with the dome structure so completely that dismantling it would require dismantling the entire dome. The water problem was solved forever, but now no one could change the air filters. Even the lab staff began losing perspective. One scientist taped his broken chair back together, only to find the chair now supported 20 times its original weight. Within a week, the lab's cafeteria tables were taped into unmovable, eternal fixtures. "It's beautiful," whispered one janitor, tears in his eyes, as he duct taped a wobbly shelf into galactic permanence. But the real chaos began when they tested it again against the void rot. In a secure chamber, the black, swirling corruption inched toward a strip of duct tape. The rot paused, trembled, then retreated so fast it slammed into the containment wall. The lab erupted into cheers. A Krog general roared, "We've found the ultimate deterrent." The Yntari scientists whispered about weaponizing it into adhesive mines. The Velthari simply stared at the silver strip, as if in prayer. The news spread faster than a gossip wave on a small moon. Markets crashed as investors pulled out of shield technology and funneled credits into tape manufacturing. Entire civilizations panicked over rumors that humans might decide to embargo duct tape exports. The humans, meanwhile, were baffled. Dave told a late-night talk show, "Aliens think duct tape is a weapon? Wait till they find out about WD-40. The audience laughed, but somewhere across the galaxy, a Yntari admiral fainted. In the council chambers, a Krog delegate leaned forward, voice low. If they can do this with tape, what will they do if they feel threatened? The chamber fell silent, all eyes drifting to the crates of duct tape stacked in the corner like an arsenal. Back on Earth, Dave was busy taping a canoe paddle back together. Gonna hold fine, he muttered. Held last summer. Held through the storm. Heck, held through Uncle Barry falling on it. When the alien envoy asked if they could buy another shipment, Dave nodded and grabbed a stack from his garage. Sure thing. Want the black one or the camo? Oh, and this one's glow in the dark, good for night repairs. The envoy's pupils contracted in pure fear. Glow in the dark. That meant they could find it in the dark. The galaxy wasn't ready for that level of power. It didn't take long for the whole thing to spiral into an interstellar arms race. The Velthari unveiled Project Bindstorm, a fleet initiative to wrap their cruisers entirely in duct tape. The Krog countered with Operation Adhesive Justice, focusing on duct tape-coated railgun rounds. The Yntari announced the Silver Death Ribbon Initiative, which was mostly just taping things at random to see what happened. Weapon prototypes rolled out in days, not months. One Velthari ship had duct tape fins glued to its plasma torpedoes. They claimed the tape enhanced aerodynamic stability, despite space famously lacking air. The Krog taped the barrels of their plasma cannons for extra focus. The result was catastrophic. The cannons fused shut, and the test ship is still drifting somewhere between systems, covered in scorch marks and shame. The unintended side effects got weirder. Duct tape didn't just stop physical damage, it blocked psychic attacks. A psychic parasite attempted to infiltrate Yntari's ship, only to bounce off the tape hull and get trapped in a feedback loop of its own bad thoughts. Time-manipulating species reported glitches near taped surfaces. One alien historian became permanently stuck in year 40,2005 because someone taped over the door to the temporal chamber. The humans finally started to notice. Kev, a YouTuber from Nebraska, uploaded a video titled, "Why are there 12 aliens buying every roll of duct tape at Walmart?" It went viral instantly. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag tape apocalypse, hashtag sticky wars, and the inevitable hashtag aliens are weird. Dave watched the video and shrugged. Told you it's useful. But the aliens weren't joking anymore. The void rot, once feared as unstoppable, now actively avoided duct tape. In one lab incident, the rot sample refused to even look at a taped surface, curling up in what scientists described as adhesive-induced despair. That's when military strategists started calling it the ultimate deterrent. And deterrent wasn't enough. They wanted offense. A Krog weapons engineer taped together a cluster of war drones into what was essentially a giant, spinning adhesive ball. They rolled it into a simulated battlefield, where it collected enemy drones like a lint roller. The Velthari tested duct tape nets in asteroid fields, catching everything from debris to a passing tourist vessel whose pilot was not amused. Then came the biggest overreach. A Velthari general ordered an entire moon wrapped in duct tape as a defensive measure. It took 6 months, bankrupted 3 systems, and resulted in the moon's entire ecosystem collapsing because sunlight couldn't get through the reflective adhesive. The moon is now a giant shiny ornament visible from half the galaxy. Not to be outdone, a Krog admiral had engineers tape the edges of the sun to contain solar flares. The tape held, but the star's magnetic field shifted so violently it flung 2 planets out of orbit. Those planets are now considered free-range real estate. The council tried to rein things in, but it was too late. Everyone wanted the tape. The galactic black market was flooded with counterfeit rolls, cheap imitations that unraveled on their own, or worse, stuck to themselves before application. Meanwhile, legitimate human exports couldn't keep up. Dave had to hire 3 cousins just to keep his garage stocked. News anchors spoke in hushed tones. Reports indicate the humans have developed a glow-in-the-dark variant. Military analysts are calling this a game-changer. In alien war rooms, generals debated the ethics of using luminous adhesive warfare while quietly ordering more rolls. And through all of this, Earth just didn't care. Governments didn't issue any statements. Scientists didn't patent anything new. People just kept taping their stuff. In Dave's backyard, the envoy found him sealing a leaky kiddie pool. "You still want more tape?" Dave asked, peeling a strip with a satisfying. The envoy nodded wordlessly, because by then, the entire galaxy had come to one terrifying conclusion. Humans had invented a weapon they didn't even realize was a weapon. And if they could do that by accident, what would they create on purpose? By now, the galaxy was in full-blown duct tape hysteria. You couldn't walk through a marketplace without seeing stalls selling blessed adhesive strips for protection, ceremonial rolls for weddings, and combat-grade bindings. For anyone paranoid enough to think a plasma rifle could be improved by being taped to a stick. Religions sprouted overnight. The cult of the silver strip preached that duct tape was the divine ribbon binding the cosmos together. Their holy text was literally a hardware store catalog laminated for eternity. Pilgrims traveled light years to touch the first roll, a partially used duct tape cylinder that Dave had once dropped behind his couch and forgotten about. The aliens kept it in a zero-gravity shrine, where visitors floated reverently around it, whispering prayers for adhesion and stability. But reverence didn't mean restraint. In the outer systems, black market warlords began selling duct tape grenades, basically just rolls hurled at enemies with enough force to stick to them. The terrifying part? It worked. Whole squads were found immobilized, weapons glued to their hands, armor welded together at the joints. Rescue crews had to peel them free one layer at a time, a process both humiliating and loud. The Galactic Council's final attempt to control the madness was the Adhesive Non-Proliferation Treaty. Every species signed it, except humans, who didn't even send a representative. Not out of malice, just because nobody thought to tell them. Dave was in the middle of patching a chicken coop roof when a Velthari diplomat arrived to beg him for just one last shipment. Dave handed over 3 crates and threw in a roll of painter's tape for free. Meanwhile, the void rot problem was solved so thoroughly it became a joke. Entire sectors stopped worrying about defense fleets. They just lined their borders with duct tape strips floating in space. The rot didn't just avoid them. It actively migrated away, retreating to some far corner of the universe where it could live free from its sticky nemesis. Alien news outlets reported this like a miracle. The silver ribbon brings peace to the void. The fear, though, never really left. Generals whispered in war rooms. If humans ever realize what they have, they imagined duct tape orbital mines, adhesive space stations that couldn't be boarded, entire planets wrapped in silver like gifts no one could open. The mere thought made even the Krog, who regularly punch volcanoes for sport, break out in nervous sweat. And humans? Still oblivious. The weapon was just part of life. Kids made wallets out of it. College students hung posters with it. Farmers mended tractor seats. Somewhere in the Midwest, Dave was holding a barbecue when his alien contact stopped by. "You know this tape is feared across the galaxy," the envoy said, voice shaking. Dave laughed. "Feared? Mate, it's tape. We use it to keep the wind out of the shed." He tore off a strip to fix the wobbly leg of the picnic table. "See? World's not ending." The envoy just stared, silently calculating how many civilizations might collapse if that roll ever ran out. Weeks later, in a classified meeting, the council admitted defeat. "We cannot control them," one Velthari said. "The humans wield it without awareness. That is worse." The chamber fell into grim silence until a Yantari general asked, "And what of this other product they mentioned? WD-40. Nobody spoke after that, because somewhere on Earth, Dave was spraying a rusty hinge, unaware he had just ignited the next galactic panic.